Every country has a story. Cameroon is no exception. At the heart of Central Africa lies a nation of remarkable diversity, rich in culture, history, and resilience. Known as Africa in miniature, Cameroon is home to hundreds of ethnic groups, diverse landscapes, and a unique cultural heritage. Yet, behind its breathtaking landscapes and vibrant communities are stories that often go unheard. Today, we journey into Cameroon through the eyes of those who know it best.
Mr. Joshua Bergland, you're welcome to the Beyond Africa podcast.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Grateful to be here.
It's exciting because I've observed some of your work online, Facebook and Twitter, and I see that you are doing something fantastic in Africa, and we've spoken about this in Africa, Cameroon, Uganda. We've spoken about this. Can you briefly tell us what you are doing in Cameroon right now?
Well, right now I'm serving really any organization that I come across that needs help and I can offer value to without limitation. So whether it's beach cleanup or going to orphanages, working with the local communities, I've been teaching a lot of workshops, both online and in person, everything from storytelling, from how to create endless revenue streams simply using your mobile phone. I'm teaching people how to build a website very easily from their phone. So the first workshop I taught that is really the main work I came here to do that feed into the media centers, it was 5 hours long. I knew the majority would not be qualified to really understand all of it, but I was trying to establish a baseline of what people actually knew and what they were prepared for. And then from there, kind of scale down to figure out what needs to be taught. So my next series of workshops that I teach are going to be very simple and basic, but really tapping into storytelling and helping showcase getting people their messages, getting their gifts and talents out to the rest of the world so the local Cameroonians can start taking place in the international marketplace that so many of us around the world have had the opportunity to. But truth be told, most Americans, if I'll speak from an American standpoint, most Americans don't take advantage of the opportunity that they have with media, with internet, with solid electricity. They don't take advantage of it. And what I've noticed being here in Cameroon, they may not really have the full education or even all of the tools yet, but they have the hunger and the desire for it. And that's been very encouraging so far. So the other thing I'm doing is establishing the relationships that are necessary to start building the media centers all throughout Cameroon, eventually all of Africa, and then the rest of the global south, then the world.
All right, that's fine. Thank you so much for this introduction. Your main focus is media in the box. Am I correct?
Media company in a box is what I call my system, yes.
From the introduction you gave, it sounds like you are more into humanitarian assistance or development aid, but you've criticized aid as the building block of Africa's poverty.
So my story and what I've overcome in my life is literally the foundational building blocks for the media company in a box system. It's based off a story. I used my very first book, turned it into a movie, which then turned into multiple different podcasts, which turned into speaking engagements, which turned into consulting services, but it was all really my testimony. It's how I turned my life around. Being in service is part of the healing process for me, or what has been part of the healing process for me. And I have a lot of different ways that I can serve, but sometimes people don't need to be taught anything. Sometimes, like going to the orphanage and serving or doing beach cleanup, there's a need there, and I have a willingness to go serve. I mean, it brings me joy, but my God, I don't worship God's creation, but I love God's creation. And if I see the beach and it's a mess and it's got trash all over it, well, dadgummit, I want to be a good steward of what we've been blessed on this planet with. So I want to go clean it up. And if there's children that are lonely, that have lost their parents, if I can go and serve and maybe it's not even teach, maybe it's not even speaking, maybe it's just spending time with them. If that's how I can serve and how I need to be used that day, then so be it. That said, what I'm here to teach works for everybody and will work for everybody, but sometimes people aren't ready to hear that yet. Sometimes people are still broken inside and they don't believe in themselves and they don't even believe that there's a better life for them. How are you going to start teaching people all of these media frameworks when they don't believe in themselves yet? Because you can't even utilize my system until you're ready to start sharing your story boldly and authentically.
So that is the motivation that makes you, or that has made you the person you are. I read your story on your website, and it's quite interesting. I invite anybody who wants to know more about your story to go to your website. It's interesting, the transitions, the transformations, and where you are today, and taking that over to Cameroon. But let's dive down into the business that took you to Cameroon. Though you are saying this is service, when I look at it from all dimensions, Media in the Box sounds to me like a business and an investment, even though it doesn't follow the normal or the traditional forms of investment and businesses that we know. First of all, how is Media in the Box different from other businesses?
Because you don't need money to start the business. Like even if I never get a media center, which I already have 4 of them being set up now. Like when I go back to Bamenda, I have temporary locations to walk into already while other ones are being built. Here's the thing, I don't need the building, I don't need the money, I don't need any of that to make the system work for people. Because they need a cell phone and they need internet connection. That's why I'm teaching the workshops. If I never got a building, that wouldn't stop me from teaching. However, the point of having a building in these media hubs is that it's so much easier when you already have the computers there for people. You have the cameras, and you can, and then also with people that struggle with illiteracy here, and that's a problem, it's a serious problem because people had their educations robbed from them because of the conflict. So I'm sensitive to the fact that maybe not everyone has the capabilities of reading and writing yet. So by seeking the investments, 32,000 for each media hub, right? But they're self-sustainable within a year. Like they're ready to go because the monetization can start immediately. But for these people that may not have the education, they may not be able to read and write, we have different technologies that can help us work around that. And so that's the point of the centers, is having an actual physical location for people to go, to have people sit and work with them. Also having outside resources, whether it's mental health counseling, whether it's
Before we get into that, can you clarify the concept of Media in the Box? Because I am seeing a box and seeing some media gadgets in it. Is that what Media in the Box is?
Media Company in a Box is a system. All it is the understanding of how to utilize all of the media tools that are widely accessible to create endless revenue streams using your God-given gifts, talents, and your stories, your intellectual property, your wisdom. Okay? It's customizable to each individual's God-given gifts and talents. It's not a one-size-fit-all in a box. The irony is it's completely outside of the box, but the box itself is your phone or your computer, and then your platform. The idea is to create a multimedia monetization platform on your own platform that you own so that you can create sovereignty. Social media, I know what it's like to lose. I mean, my very first broadcast that I did, I had an audience of 500,000 people an episode. I got kicked off the internet for discussing organ harvesting. And then I got kicked off again for talking about human trafficking. And then I talked about what was really going on in Ukraine. I've been kicked off social media, every platform 4 times. Every one except for LinkedIn. That said, my point is, I didn't own the platform. Therefore, I have to play by Facebook's rules or YouTube's rules or X's rules. When you create your own platform, you don't have to do that. You can go outside of the banking system. You can become completely sovereign. So Media Company in a Box is a sovereign platform that each individual owns. It's their own intellectual property, it's their own gifts, their own talents, their own value that they have to offer the world.
So what you're saying here is you can do these things without the necessary middlemen, and this middleman could be already defined infrastructure, and you're working to empower people in Cameroon who can bypass the middleman. And how is that a sustainable business practice?
because no one can take it away from you. Look, man, there's no jobs available. I mean, I've been in the streets here every day. I'm teaching multiple workshops a day. I'm serving in the community multiple times a day. Every group of people I meet with, there's no jobs available, or the jobs that are available are like setting up a food stand along the street. You can't make this a sustainable living like that. You have these single moms that have multiple kids, and I'm not going to start preaching about all of that right now, but there's people that they're just barely surviving. I think I saw a statistic today that 70% of Cameroonians are just surviving. And what they survive on is nothing. They have no opportunity to get a job that's going to pull them out of poverty. So the only realistic shot they have is taking advantage of what the rest of the world could be doing right now. And that's taking advantage of the creators economy, the storytelling economy. And AI is going to be taking jobs everywhere. More and more jobs are going away. So the only jobs available are going to be what we create. But let me tell you this, how cool is it that the creator of all, God, whatever you want to call our creator, created us to create. And we are in the creator's economy. And most of these jobs that people are losing, none of them really wanted it to begin with. And so when you have an opportunity to take it, to showcase your gifts and talents to the world, and by the way, there is so much wisdom, so much talent in Cameroon that the world has never seen. The indigenous knowledge about agriculture and even the types of music that are played here, the world deserves to see it and know about it. And more importantly, the creators deserve to be paid for it.
I appreciate the philosophy behind what you are doing. I want us to look at how it is operationalized, especially from the perspective of someone who is in Cameroon and wants to do this training.
They're not investing in the format. They're learning the skills of how to get their talent out to the world, how to monetize each of those things. Every one of us has wisdom. Every one of us has knowledge. Whether you want to be a teacher, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a consultant, you want to be a musician. The fact is, every single business will need to know how to use every form of media to operate their business moving forward. That's how the new world is set up.
So what I'm hearing is, you are in Cameroon, you get an opportunity to access the international market while being in Cameroon after following the training you're giving to them.
Yes, 100%. That's what and I'm giving away like my book, Media Company in a Box. It's the newest edition of it. Giving it away for free. It's the blueprint for media monetization. It teaches whether you're, again, it doesn't matter what profession you're in, there's a model for you built in to utilize media to create endless revenue streams using every form of media to showcase it to the world and be able to earn revenue streams, again, from every source of media there is.
Can you explain to us how this operates? The model.
The model's customized to each individual. There's various forms of media. First of all, this screen right now, what you're using on this screen, everything on the screen is monetizable. My shirt, your jacket, that microphone, you have banner ads down here running. All of that's a revenue stream. You have video series, you have podcasts, you have documentaries, you have film. Those are all revenue streams. Then you have the audio version. There's multiple ways to monetize audio. What about the written word? What about the transcript from this interview? Turning it into a blog. You could even turn this blog, you could take a series of interviews and turn it into a book. You could turn it into consulting services. There's so many different ways. It's endless. And then think about the virtual worlds and the virtual experiences. That's even more revenue streams to take advantage of. It's customized. It's not in a box, like I was saying. It's not here I'm going to plug and play and now all of a sudden it's making money. No. Like when I work with my clients, I actually create a custom Media Company in a Box book for them based on their own gifts and talents. And this is the playbook for them to use. My book is all of the different resources available, and it shows people how they can piece it together to create their media company in a box, whether it's from a cell phone, a laptop, or even a tablet. It doesn't really matter.
Thank you. And when someone is looking at investing in around the world, Africa is always one of the least investment-friendly places because of infrastructure, internet, conflict, like where you are in Limbe right now under Bamenda, in serious conflict. And this infrastructure and energy problems persist. Before this conversation, you're telling me about the failure of energy and that the internet is kind of stable today, meaning it's not always stable. And
I'm shocked. It's doing way better than I would have thought.
how did you make this choice, knowing that you want to take people into the world through the internet, and you're going to a place where internet is not stable at all? So how did you make this choice?
Well, like I taught in my workshop, there's ways around working around poor internet. You just have to be very strategic about the time you do things. And also, like, if you're going to use a video as a piece of your monetization equipment, cutting the file size, shrinking the file size, using CapCut, for instance, to make your file size smaller so it uploads faster, not doing hour-long videos. You may have to do a series of 5-minute videos, 6-minute videos. You have to be very clever to work around it. There's a lot of disadvantages here, but you know what? That should never stop anyone, because the one thing that people need to understand is that there are changes coming to Cameroon. Big positive changes. Positive changes. I'm not blowing smoke up anyone's butt. I'm telling you right now, there's the leadership here, and I'm not going to get political, but I will tell you that they want to change their legacy. There's other tools here. There will be better internet, improved internet coming here. There's going to be better solutions as far as electricity, because solar is going to be made cheaper. There's investments coming to Bamenda and all over Cameroon now, because over the last 11, 12 years, it's been blocked off. That's changing. There's more people traveling in for tourism now. The BaPf&x airport being restored is a big sign of what's to come. The Bamenda is very much like Hollywood. Very much like Los Angeles, very much so. In fact, because I lived there. LA is home for me. I was born in Oklahoma, but LA is home for me. When I was in Bamenda, I felt it within a minute. I got by, whoo, there's an energy here. And I remember that energy. And I started talking to different artists and different musicians. And I started to talk to them. Like, we were trying to build our own version of Hollywood here before the crisis. And the more people I've met, that's what I keep hearing. Well, those media hubs that we're building, they're also going to turn into film studios and live entertainment venues. They're all being built. These things are happening in Bamenda. Money is coming here from all over the world. Resources are coming here. In Bamenda, I can't say this enough. The rest of the world is about to go to hell in a handbasket, and they ain't ready for it. No matter what is thrown at Cameroon, they're prepared for it. But Cameroon is set to rise. Africa will unite and become one, because the rest of Africa is going to be sovereign. Before 2030, Africa will be sovereign. Africa will unite and come together, because the rest of the world is about to crumble. America is getting ready to face some serious hardship that they're not ready for. They're not ready for it. The rest of the world is going to be experiencing it too. And Cameroon, again, they're used to no electricity. They're used to no water. They're used to bad internet. Those things are going to happen here, because this is going to be the safest place to invest. There's more young entrepreneurs all throughout Africa than there is anywhere in the world. And the money and the resources are coming, and Africa is going to rise. So this hardship that Cameroon has gone through, I'm telling you right now, after every meeting I've had with the government, whether it's local government or even the president's people, I'm telling you, positive change is coming here. This is going to be the place to be. People from all over the world are going to come to Cameroon to make their dreams come true. Watch it.
Let us hope, because at the Beyond Africa podcast, we aspire to see the transformation of the African continent to gain that economic and developmental freedom that gives it complete independence from the rest of the world. And it is through initiatives like this that we can actually find that ground to stand on to have development on the continent. But with that said, it takes time and it takes serious political will. That is a conversation for another day. We can have that one some other time. But let's go back to the people you're dealing with. What is the reception? How is the reception to the message you're giving to them on this training? Do the people really believe that they can sit in Cameroon and market their products all over the world?
Yes, because when you show them how it's done, it doesn't take very long for them to get it. It doesn't. And here's the best part. The very core of what people really want here is to be heard. It's the world's most forgotten crisis here. People, other parts of Africa, I've been working virtually in Africa for over 11 years now. I've never heard anyone talk about what was happening in Cameroon. I know Cameroonians in the United States that never talked about what was happening here. The media doesn't talk about it. There's a very sick and twisted reason why. So most people here just want to be heard. They just want to have a fair shot of making their dreams come true, whether they're a musician, whether they're a chef, whether they're an artist, whether even if they're a talk show personality like yourself. They just want to be heard. And there's something about when you've had your voice taken. I had my voice taken when I was younger. Multiple reasons, and I won't go into all those details now. Read The Devil Inside Me and you'll figure it out. I mean, I do talk about it pretty openly. I just won't do it on this show right now. The point is, like, being silenced, being scared to talk, that stunts your development. It stunts your growth. It keeps you from being what you were created to be. And little by little, people are starting to realize, wait a second, I have a voice that matters. I have value to offer the world. And that gets people excited enough to go, you know what? I may not understand all of this technology yet, but I'm going to learn. And here's what I've seen. I'm not going to say 100% of people, that wouldn't be true, but the majority of the people I've worked with has displayed a hunger to learn and grow. And they have dedicated themselves to learning what they need to learn. And I'm here dedicated freely to teach them all along the way.
Yeah, what are the challenges they have right now? I know you've mentioned the internet, you've mentioned power, you've mentioned jobs, that's the economy, but they still show the desire to learn and grow. What are the challenges they have right now that you think could be resolved?
Well, what I've learned through what I tried to teach in the first big workshop is there's very basic, uploading a video. This is another one that's kind of crazy that actually caught me by surprise. When people are signing up to try to build their website, when they ask for an address in their zip code, you know this as well as anybody, there's no zip codes in Cameroon. Like, how do you sign up for something that's requiring an address and they don't really have formal locations here? They say Northwest region, Southwest region. There's no zip code unless if you have a post office box. Like, there's little weird challenges like that. Running out of data nonstop. Like, these are the little things. But even with that said, what I've noticed is the people that run out of data and they may disappear for 4 days, they come back going, hey, I'm sorry, I ran out of data, but I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start learning again. And that part's exciting. But the motivation for the media hubs is to be able to supply all of this for them, because really what it is an economic development plan that takes that burden off of them and that stress, where they can just step into the center. They got everything at their disposal they want to learn, whether they want to be an artist and they want to paint, or they want to sculpt, whether they want to create a cooking show, whether they want to offer services, whether they want to be teachers and tutor people all over the world. It doesn't matter. These centers are going to be there for them to relieve that burden. So it's an investment in the people more than it is a building.
So from what you're describing, there are complementary forms of investments that could happen to sustain this project you are running. What are those forms of businesses that could be invested around this to make the project more sustainable, both for the country and for the trainees?
Well, there's a lot of humanitarians that I've met, because we're actually doing something with gorillas next, which is not human, but they're going to be taking part in what we're doing. There's people that are really big into conservation that believe in this system, and so they are investing. There's people that are just people that have been very successful in art, and they want to invest in the arts, and they want to see the arts in Cameroon grow. Or there's people that have left Cameroon for whatever reason, got a job in America or Germany or somewhere else, but they want to see Cameroon grow. They're excited about this, and they're wanting to be a part of it as well. I'm trying to avoid investment from people who would want to come in and try to say, we want to control this, we want to change this, because the whole point is sovereignty. There is no control. It's everyone getting to win, everyone getting to be free, everyone getting to be sovereign.
So in this context, and you've mentioned the data problem consistently, how is it possible to go around that? Because the internet is a backbone of most businesses, and especially this business that you're encouraging. How do they go around that, or how can they go around that, or is there any advocacy you can be doing at the moment to ensure that these people have the data to learn what they are learning?
Systems will, the media hubs will take on the data burden for them. Like, we are going to have that solution in place.
How?
Like, that's part of the investment. Satellite internet, and there's more options than Starlink, by the way.
Explain how to me, because I know you have already mentioned that it's going to be satellite internet, but how is that going to be distributed to those you are working with?
In the hubs, when they come to the hubs, they'll have unlimited internet.
So how do you choose the location of the hubs?
We know and we see it. Like, we have the Royal Echo Village in BaPf&x. We already have that land. I have temporary locations that have been offered in Bamenda to be able to use that already have that. I mean, they're set up like a radio station. One of the places is a radio station. And then there's other places, like people, like local businesses and hotels are wanting to build mini hubs at their hotels for people, their guests that come, to be able to utilize these hubs. Because here's the thing, for a business, adding this into their business is a win for them, because it allows them, that's another revenue stream for them as well.
Tell us more. How would that be another revenue stream for the hotels?
TV network make money? How does a TV show make money? How does a podcast make money? Remember what I said? Everything on the screen is monetizable. You utilize media as an advertising tool. You can utilize it for commercial shoots. You can use it for teaching workshops and putting on seminars. There's so many different ways, because the fact is, anything that you put out on media is monetizable. There's merchandise, there's sponsorships, there's all kinds of things that they can be using. Because one of the hotels that we're building a mini hub, it's not a huge hub, but a mini hub. We're going to be doing live workshops from there. We're going to be doing a Tonight Show theme talk show there. There's money in that. And on top of that, people will be able to come in and rent out that space too and utilize it for their own work. Multiple ways, but you have to think of it like a TV station. And each individual is a TV show, but with endless revenue streams built into it.
So with all this said and done, what happens to this investment or this business if tomorrow you are no longer available, you're no longer available to do this investment? I
have a contingency plan. If I was to die tomorrow, I have a contingency plan of people to move this forward. And there's also a reason why I've written the curriculum and they've given out the playbook, because other people will take this idea that won't be necessarily me, but other people will go, hey, I recognize this idea. I'm going to take this for myself. Guess what? I don't care. Steal my idea. I'm here as a public servant. I'm not here to get rich. I'm here to publicly serve. I'm here to fulfill the purpose God created me for. So please, please steal my idea. Please. I put everything out there for a reason, because you know what? When I was in America, I was dying. I was dying because of the frequencies. They were killing me. Come to Cameroon, I'm doing much better. Thank God. But I don't think God's done with me yet. But if I was to kill over and die in 1 hour, I have contingency plans. I have people to carry it forward. And also the playbook is out there for anyone to use.
Tell us about the partnerships you have with Cameroonians, because I don't think you just left the United States and found yourself in Cameroon to do this.
Well, I have multiple now. I have multiple new ones. Some I'm not going to talk about, but I've been very blessed to be invited here by Princess Abumbi Prudence and the Fawn, King Abumbi II of BaPf&x. I was invited here by them, and I've been working with her organization, Youths in the Future. That's one of them. But again, since I've been here, I've been very fortunate to meet other organizations and show up and serve. And then some relationships I'm not ready to talk about publicly yet.
Why can't you talk about relationships you're building to foster the plan or the business you are putting in place while the business is so open and anybody can copy it?
Because the people that are involved are not, I'm not discussing who they are yet. That's my right to do, and I'm going to protect their names because that's the right thing to do. Like, there's some things, like I can talk about the orphanages. It's all over social media. You can see who I post about. But as far as the private people that are investing that I'm working with, that's not for public consumption just yet at all. It's not like there's anything shady, but there's some things that are not meant for public consumption yet, and I'm going to protect those relationships.
I ask this question because businesses survive when they are in a network, and the networks could be both international and domestic, both in the United States and in Cameroon. And that is what holds a business to sustain in case of any eventuality down the road. And one of the problems we've seen across the continent of Africa is sometimes businesses don't last because there is no continuity, But when there is a network, things build up. And I am happy that you are working towards that direction and you are looking at that going forward. So my next question is, considering all what you have already said about the hubs and the structure you're putting in place, what risk do you see that could interrupt or cause this project to fail?
It won't fail. It won't fail.
But what risk do you see?
What do you mean? Because here's the thing, like I said, if I never got one single building, the methodology works for everyone, regardless of how much money you have in the bank account. Anyone who's willing to do the work can benefit from it and will benefit from it. And that's really my ultimate responsibility. The hubs themselves, look, I've had the economic model picked apart by economists, some of the most brilliant money minds in the world. And I've had people in Hollywood look at it that I'm close to. And I did that purposefully for them to pick apart the model. You cannot pick it apart. It's the perfect model. And the reason why is because it's not only sustainable, it literally protects people's intellectual property. It's tailor fit. I mean, I've studied Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, the Future of Industry reports by the Rockefeller Foundation. I mean, I've studied all of this for over 20 years. This plan is bulletproof. It will not fail. And the people that are in my corner, who I'm not going to talk about, will not let it fail. And there's people, including in the government here, where you need people in the government to make anything happen here. I have their support. So it's not going to fail at all. It will not fail.
One of the important things is if a project is operating already in an active conflict zone, and you are so hopeful about it, means that you've done your studies and you are sure that any risk can actually be countered. So, but the model is operating on a decentralized format, on a sovereignty-based business format. Can you throw some light on what you mean by sovereignty here?
Well, first of all, the platforms are what somebody would own. So they're protected, they're censorship proof. So the government can't come in and shut it down. The banking that's done, it's not using traditional banking. Everything about it is meant to be protected and bulletproof. It's meant to protect from hackers, from people stealing. The governance model, because it's built into artificial governance, which is you should read, that's a whole other talk show talking about artificial governance. But the whole system is designed for the creators, the ones with the talents, the ones with the gift, for them to be the main benefactor. It's literally to rise the people up. It's meant to be incorruptible, and it's meant to be something that can never be taken away from someone. That's how it's all designed. You know why? Because I know what it's like to be censored. I know what it's like to lose my money because of being kicked off the internet for trying to do the right thing. I know what it's like to deal with a government that doesn't want you talking about certain things. I've learned how to get around all of that, and that's what I teach. That's what's in my book, Media Company in a Box.
So what I hear from you is this project is going to survive what may, because it is built on the individual, and the individual uses the lessons learned to connect with others, not necessarily built on institutions or on different people.
Yes.
So has this model worked around the world, or is this just a primary test zone you are setting up in Cameroon and Uganda?
I have a bunch of individuals who have used it for success. Cameroon was the first on the ground testing I've been able to do. I've been teaching virtually for a long time. And so it's been mainly individuals. This is the first time I've ever had the opportunity to actually work with people in person to help teach them this work. And so while I've had school systems teach this in their schools, it's been taught at universities. It's been mainly individuals who have used it. Now I have a full team approach, and that team approach really fits into the hubs. And it also works with different companies, and it works with nonprofits, and it works with ministries. Those are the other places that I've used the system. Because, for instance, I try to get people to break away from relying on charity instead of becoming sovereign, where they earn for themselves. They provide things of value that they can make money on, where they don't have to ask the congregation, or the nonprofit doesn't have to beg for donations. I've used the system with them successfully. Now, but this is the first time I've been able to be in the trenches. My heart has been for underserved communities my entire life. I mean, I worked with complex disabilities for 18 years before I got into entertainment. And that's always been my heart. But one thing I've noticed with working with complex disabilities is they have talents and gifts too, and they have desires that they want to get out to the world, or you know, their talent to get out to the world, and they've been limited. This system changes that. It gives them that opportunity. But the real testing model for me was coming into a crisis zone and working with them, working with people that truly, to be honest with you, didn't really have any other options. They weren't distracted by many other things. Cameroon was like the perfect place for me to come and work, because this is where the deepest hunger was. So while I've had this work, you know, with other people, the true success of it's going to become in watching Cameroon rise and the people here rise.
As you're talking, I'm trying to visualize how this is going to happen in Cameroon, especially as you've not done it on the ground somewhere within a local community or within a particular society. And I'm thinking, how does this scale? Again, it's based on the individual, but how does it scale in a community? Do the members of the community then come together to realize that one person has successfully gone through the training and is already in business, and then the others copy? Or how does that happen?
It's better. So this is where the hubs really come in and help, because the hubs become responsible essentially for rising up these voices and helping promote them. So think about Disney, Walt Disney, and how powerful the Disney network is and all of the different networks they own. But the difference is, instead of TV shows, the people are the show. But the network itself, the hub, it could be Netflix, it could be Disney, but whatever, but we'll just say BaPf&x and Bamenda. Those are the hubs, and the people that run those hubs are responsible as the executives, the managers, the trainers, the teachers. They are acting like the manager, the promotional manager, the agent, to get them out to the world. The only way they earn money, because the creator keeps 80 to 90% of the money. The rest goes to the hub, and because that's to keep the hub operational, the internet, keeping the lights on, you know, and also the promotional activity to help to get them out to the world. So they have people to assist them, to help them to get the message out. It's much more difficult doing it by yourself. It really is. It's not easy. It's not easy. I know, because I've had to do it. I did it without a hub. I didn't have a hub. The hub was part of the vision. Changing the Hollywood system was part of the vision. So now coming here and actually getting to work in the hubs. When I go to Bamenda, I'm going to be in a hub. It's going to be much easier to start getting this stuff out to the rest of the world. But here's the thing again, when there's no other jobs and it's the creator's economy, what else are you going to do? All of what I'm teaching is backed up and supported by the World Economic Forum, the United Nations. Every one of those organizations tell you flat out, these are the skills you have to know to succeed in the 4th and 5th industrial revolution. So I'm right in line with what they said, but no one else is really teaching this, because most people don't listen to what the United Nations says and what the World Economic Forum says. They tell you the future plans they told people 20 years ago. I was paying attention. That's how I developed the system. So it all checks out. Go read the book. Read the book for yourself. Go through the business plan yourself. It all checks out. Poke holes in it. Do your best. You won't be able to do it. My plan is sound.
So for those who are training in Cameroon, has any of them gone to a level you can say you are proud, or that is already degree of success?
I have a couple people that I'm proud for the progress they're making, but no one's gone through a full training of anything yet. Because my very first training that I did here, it was, I mean, it was 5 hours long, and a lot of it, like the language, like most people don't even know what SEO is here, much less AEO. Most people have not used the chatbot yet. They don't know how to utilize AI or to do a prompt yet, or even to design images. They don't know how to do those things yet. So there's a lot to learn. But I have several students that I'm very proud of for the progress that they're making. And a lot of them are coming to my workshop tomorrow to actually start building their platform.
Did you anticipate these challenges before moving over to Bamenda to start this?
Yes, I did. I fully did. And that's why I committed to come here for the long haul, because I knew this wasn't a situation that I was going to be able to fix in 2 months or 3 months. That's why I got my visa extended, and I'm working on my residency as we speak.
Good luck with that. Hope everything goes to plan. Let's talk about money and money on the creator's side. You just said the creator takes 80% of the money and the hub takes 20%, which seems to be a very sustainable business plan, because sometimes people would share even 60-40 credit to the hub. But you said it's a decentralized system. So how does the hub get that money out? Because by decentralized system, I'm looking at crypto money or something where the hub will not see the transaction. So how does the hub get that money out of the transaction?
Well, the system that we're going to have, the system that we're going to have is essentially like it'll be like paying dues, essentially. Like in the same way that you pay an agent, like we're going to know what people make. Like, we'll know what people make. And part of the responsibility will be to give back to the hubs. But everything will be done in a fair way. It will all be transparent. No one's going to get screwed over at all. And again, that's part of the reason why it needs to be forthright and everything up front, because there should never be a question of, are you getting paid what you're worth? In other words, we're not going to be taking all the money up front. The creators, it's going to go directly into their account. But we're also going to have a way of saying, oh, listen, we made you $10,000 last month. Let's give back to the community here. So we'll have all of that figured out and done in a way that is, again, above board and fully transparent. Because again, the whole purpose of this system is for no one to necessarily be the boss, but people will do what's right and people will do what's fair, because that's the only way a society like this will work.
You know, in the past, most foreign businesses have been looked upon as problematic, because sometimes there is a middle that determines how the business is going to be operated, because the investor sits somewhere in, say, Chicago, and then hires a consultant to do the feasibility studies. And when they go to implement the business, there's a mismatch between what is on the ground and what the businessman thought about. Did you face this challenge at all?
I'm going to be very, very cautious about, look, the way things are going, the way this world has been going, we don't need another slave system, because there's plenty of them right now. There's people in this world that are slaves and don't even know they're slaves. And I'm not trying to be insensitive with that word, but there's slavery problems all over the world, and there's a lot of different forms of it. And so the only way to change that is to work with people who have the same mentality and the same desire to see this forward. So these people that are coming forward, looking to invest and be a part of it, they're not looking to have control. They're looking to see change and to leave a legacy. Be insensitive with that word, but there's slavery problems all over the world, and there's a lot of different forms of it. And so the only way to change that is to work with people who have the same mentality and the same desire to see this forward. So these people that are coming forward, looking to invest and be a part of it, they're not looking to have control. They're looking to see change and to leave a legacy.
It is that slave mentality that pushed me to ask this question, because some businesses in Africa today, especially in Cameroon, are being considered as violating the rights of individuals and community rights and disregarding the environment. And that has put a negative stain on foreign investment. And on the other hand, some other investors are considered to be just come and grab it all and go, and ignore the problems that the people have fled the continent. So is your reputation a critical factor in this investment train?
I mean, it should be, yes. But truthfully, like, I should be very little of the equation. But like, I'm not even in power in this. I'm the visionary behind it, but I'm not seeking to be in control, because each location will be sovereign and will be independent and remain true to its culture. Because I'm not looking to go in. I mean, I want to see every hub will be interconnected like a TV network to keep it strong and to keep it incorruptible, and also to keep it from being able to be taken over by an outside force that wants to, destroy it. Like we're eliminating that possibility. Because if you think about how powerful the media is now, I mean, the power of the media has lied in the hands of a few people for a long time. Now it's being dispersed into the hands of millions. So we're a part of that. And so I understand the American government's corrupt. The government, I don't know a single government that's not corrupt in their own way. And so the idea behind this system too was to create something that was incorruptible, but also was taken out of the hands of the government, but at the same time taken out of their hands, but also where the government would actually want to support it. It's almost like making it their idea to want to support it, because they don't really have any responsibility. It's not taking anything from them, but it's also empowering the people. So in a way, the leadership can say, yeah, this was my idea and I support this, because that's what happens. They're going to make it, they're going to act like it's going to be like their idea, but it's not. It's really about the people, right? But it's going to make the governments look good. So it's not a threat to the government, even in freedom of speech. It's not going to be a threat to the government. It's not going to be a threat to anybody. In fact, it's going to be kind of like, it's going to set a lot of people free. And I really believe in Cameroon, especially, that is needed.
Yeah, you mentioned something that is so close to my heart, and that is freedom of speech. And that is very necessary in communities where investments are happening. And I'm wondering, how do you factor this? Because you've mentioned the government of Cameroon a couple of times, and there are general problems known around the world about the government and their approach to freedom of speech and internet management. How did you factor this, and how do you go around it?
Creative storytelling.
Tell me more about that.
There's a way to tell it. I've had to learn this in my own respect. You can't go right at the issue sometimes. You can't point the finger, but you can tell a story and you can paint a picture. And like, you can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make it to drink. I don't know if that's the right analogy, but it's the way that you tell the story that matters. And the thing is, and when we teach people proper storytelling, there's a method to it. There's a style to it, but it's never directly pointing the finger, pointing blame. It's sharing a story from a personal experience. And you can get around censorship that way, because in the end, it's not threatening anybody, but you can still tell the same story. For instance, again, I got to be very careful, because there's some things that I don't want to say, but what's gone on the last 4 years, 5 years in the world, 6 years, we're 26 now. Wow. Oh my gosh. What went on during the last shutdown? There's a certain way you can talk about those things that doesn't pose a problem for the powers that be, because it's not affecting their money. But if I was to come right out like I did before and give certain warnings, now all of a sudden I'm a threat, they can take me out. And they did. So the way that you tell the story matters, and we teach a lot of that in our workshops. That is fantastic, and it's good to know that the younger generation is learning some of these things firsthand and growing with them, so they kind of inculcate them into their DNA. So for someone who is attempting to start this all over, what should the person be thinking about, and how should the person start? What should be the first steps of the building block? Well, if you're in Cameroon, reach out to me and I'll give you a free copy of my book. It's not free for anyone else, but it's free for Cameroonians. I also sign up for my workshops. But even taking me out of the equation, the most important things are to really discover who you are, what you're about, what you've overcome, the injustices that you want to fight in the world, or the things that you want to bring awareness to. What value do you have to offer the world? Those are the core things to get really in touch with, because ultimately, that's what you're going to be pulling from to create your endless revenue streams in this new economy. You know, as you say this, I'm thinking about the general knowledge of foreign direct investment or foreign investments in Africa, and it's really about mines, forestry, and all whatnot. But do these other industries think about
whom they are and what they want to do and the kind of problems they want to solve? Or do they just go out for the money and that creates the tension that we generally see around?
The people that are typically getting promoted and the ones that get all the money from, the NGO money, the money from certain global organizations, to me, in my experience, those people don't really have everyone's best interest at heart. It's the people that show up and truly care that are eliminated, that are normally the ones that don't get access to the funding because they don't have the relationships. That's changing because there's enough people that are sick and tired of the way things have been. There's a certain group that has had a big influence on the world and dictated the world. The way they use media, they've influenced the world to believe a certain thing. In other words, most of the world doesn't know the truth about Africa. Most of the world definitely does not know the truth about Cameroon and what's going on here. There's a reason for that. And there's a certain group that's had influence and controls even America, for instance. America's not free. They're controlled by a certain group that I'm not going to say. But
why won't you say the group?
Because I don't want to get you in trouble.
And what is the reason for which the group is not letting people know about Cameroon?
Who's really responsible for slavery? They changed the books. I mean, there's certain countries that didn't exist until the 1960s, and if you look at the creation of the CIA and the creation of Mossad, now connect the dots. You look at all those things work, and you look at their influence on culture and Hollywood. You look what happened to America after JFK was assassinated. Who started to have a bigger imprint in America? It wasn't Americans. Look at the dual citizenship in America of the Congress people. There's people in power that are compromised. Therefore, they have to do the devil's bidding. These agencies like Mossad and the CIA have a lot of influence. And if you look at who controls them, that's who's been controlling the world.
Let's come back to this business. How much do you think is capital that needs to be invested in these hubs?
The exact number breakdown is in the business plan, but it's essentially $32,000 for each hub in Cameroon.
$32,000 per hub in Cameroon.
Built from scratch. If you go into an existing establishment, it could be much cheaper.
And where does this money go to? Is it equipment, personnel, or land acquisition, or where does the money go to?
You said it. Building materials, like if you start from scratch, you got to build it. Like the Royal Eco Village in BaPf&x, there's the land. They own the land already, but they need the building materials, and then they need the equipment. And then there's the people that you hire for education. So that's essentially what it goes to. But again, there's upscaled models of this too. There's bigger, giant versions, but I'm keeping things very modest at first because I don't want someone coming in and spending millions of dollars on something right away. I mean, do I have $1 million plan? You better believe I do. And I'm way more excited about that than I am the $32,000 ones, but practically $32,000 American.
So let's compare this with the NGO model. You are a critique of the NGO model. How do you think the NGO model could switch to do something like this that creates value instantly on the ground for people to see? I watched the video you made yesterday about when the cameras leave, the NGO money leaves.
And you have to constantly beg for donations. And people get tired of donating after a while. And also I got to be very careful about how much I say here, but I watched some NGOs in Limbe yesterday work, and I watched some of their meetings. They're there to party. They're not there to serve. It's annoying. They're not there to truly get in the trenches and work with people. Most of these NGOs never even go to the location that they're raising money for. It's insanity to me. This is about investing in the people and giving them the skills they need to become self-sustainable and self-reliant where they don't need outside help.
Yeah, so how do you think the NGO model could change to be more impactful on the communities they serve?
Throw less parties and invest in the people. Provide the actual tools that they need. Throw less parties. Get rid of the executive salaries that are millions of dollars. I mean, all that stuff is waste, and that could be going directly into the community to build media hubs. Because again, I can't stress this enough. if you read the future of industry reports and you read anything about the future world over the last 20 years, and what are the skills necessary to know? Literacy, like digital literacy, financial literacy, understanding how to use every media tool to create endless revenue streams. It's the creator's economy. Why wouldn't you need to know media? Because media is the vehicle to deliver all of those messages. So that's what they should be doing. Everyone should be focused on this. You can't, plastic surgeons in America now have to know media. They need the revenue streams. Surgeries are not enough anymore. Regular physicians, the same way, same way, teachers, same way. Everyone needs to know media. And with all these jobs being taken away, the only thing available is what you create. So you need media to deliver your creation. And don't give me, again, this is a separate episode. We're gonna start talking about 15-minute cities, smart cities, freedom cities, as some people call them.
Let's talk about that episode. But from your experience so far, what do you think other foreign direct investors or foreign investors get wrong about Africa when they invest there?
I think people's genius and creative talents and the wisdom, the indigenous knowledge, I think it's completely taken for granted here. I mean, in American universities, they're studying how to regenerate the soil because they've over-farmed. Come to Africa, look what they've done. The most brilliant farmers I've ever met in my life, the most resourceful people I've ever met in my life. Cameroonians do more with less better than anyone I've ever seen in my life. They are the best stewards of what they've been blessed with. And guess what? They haven't been, I mean, depends on how you look at it, but if you compare to the Western world, it looks like Westerners have been blessed with more. Here in Cameroon, it looks like they've had less. But I'm here now, and I contend, I'd rather have what Cameroonians have. They're closer to our original creation than what they are in the West. And this knowledge and this wisdom has been lost on the rest of the world. They're gonna need it. They're gonna need it soon. And Cameroonians have it. Africans have it.
So what do Cameroonians tell you when they understand that you left the United States to come invest in Cameroon and you're looking towards long residence in Cameroon? How do they take that message?
I would say 98% have been supportive. There's some people that don't want me here, but I mean, that's okay. I would question why I'm here too. I'm the white man from America. I know what my country's done here. So I would expect to be questioned. Does it hurt my heart? Yes, because my intentions are pure, but I also understand.
Let's say, I'm not looking at any statistics now, but about 87% of Cameroonian youth look at going out of the continent and going to America, but you leave America and you go to Cameroon. Is that a paradox in your eyes?
I mean, it's kind of crazy because most of the people that want to go to America have this vision of what Hollywood has shown them, and it's not like that. I'm safer in Bamenda, Cameroon, than I am in the inner cities in America.
So when you tell them this, what do they think? Do they agree with you, or they still believe in what they see in the news?
It's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. I'm not going to sit there and tell you 100% of people. Some people think I'm batshit crazy. Other people think, yeah, you're right. I mean, the fact is, most people have guns in America. And with the mental illness problem in America, mental illness and guns is not a good mix.
That's a conversation for another time. And I think it's a conversation to have because the causes of the mental illness in America need to be examined because the causes could be exported since we, across the world, we are developing American systems and American ways of life.
Right.
So, do you have any last message for the viewers of the Beyond Africa podcast?
Well, I mean, look, I'm grateful for the opportunity. I loved your questions, by the way. This is the best interview, best questions I've ever had in my life, in any interview I've ever done. So I'm grateful for you. And I really do recommend, please check out the business plan. If you go to my website, joshuatbergland.com or theworldsmayor.com, there's a business plan tab. Check it out, read it. I mean, I appreciate the prayers. Anyone who wants to get involved in where maybe they want to build their own hub, again, still my idea. I welcome this because I really believe in what we're doing. I want everyone to use it that needs it. And I believe a lot more people need it than they may realize.
Thank you so much, Joshua. You are the world's mayor. I read that story somewhere, and my team and I feel flattered with the praises you've given us. And we continue doing our best to bring the best of the best to this podcast, because our objective is clear. Tell African stories in a way that can change African lives and impact those lives through our stories. And that is why we're here on the Beyond Africa podcast. We implore the support of everyone to support us, and we do this to share the visions that people bring across that can bring development on the continent. And your vision is amazing. It is fantastic. I saw it. I said, I need to talk to you, and we need to do this podcast so that Africans actually see that there is progress being made, and Africa can be part of that progress without necessarily sitting and only waiting on the governments to serve. Sometimes these governments don't actually serve, but what do? We need to move forward, and we need to adopt systems that can help us bypass the difficulties. One of the reasons I started this podcast is to learn from others how they overcame challenges when they met those challenges. And that is why you are here, and that is why I read most of what is on your website, and I am looking now at your book. I'm definitely going to get a copy of it, and I encourage people to read this, because this conversation has been very, very informative, and I hope people learn and extract lessons that they can use. One lesson I think should be from this conversation is your business plan, your business model is open, and people should copy it and apply it where they can and how they can. Thank you so much. You hang on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Beyond Africa podcast with Joshua Bergland, who is the author of Media Company in a Box, and he's currently in Cameroon building media hubs where he trains Cameroonians to use the internet, use resources that they have at their disposal to overcome the challenges that they have. He's also doing similar operations in Uganda. And this definitely is going to help Africa in one way or the other. We pray for support, we pray for understanding, and we pray for lessons learned, and we pray that people can replicate these lessons and implement them. This is 2026, and Africa's journey should not be the same as countries that moved forward in the 1960s or even before. We can do it faster, and we can do it better. And we also ask foreign investors to invest money in Africa to transform the continent. Energy is needed, infrastructure is needed, internet is needed. And so these are all systems that can take Africa to a different level. Thank you so much. And thank you for watching the Beyond Africa podcast. See you in our next episode. Thank you so much. But before I leave, kindly remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thank you.